So here comes the open. I need to see ACB break 923 and 930 this morning to have confidence in follow through. And CVSI is looking good to break 579 triple top first thing this morning. That was also at the top of my list to be watching. XBI, we're watching the daily inside bar. Break of 85.39 is bullish. Break of 83.69 is bearish. We're starting in the middle of that range, so still tight. And I'll get to other names in a minute. So CGC pulling back a bit first thing. The question is, will the bulls buy the dip? 5-minute RSI on CGC is getting towards oversold. Not there just yet. We would pretty much have to break 48 to see 5-minute oversold conditions. But potentially watching if 48 breaks for that oversold bounce entry. ACB still battling just under the high of yesterday. And here goes CGC testing 48. So CVSI has a nice bull break. We'll see what kind of follow through we can get there. Very quick bounce on CGC, so let's see now if this is the catalyst for the turnaround. I took a little bit of Curaleaf off, locking in a little bit more profit as that was my biggest position at this point. And if the bulls can break 48.35 from here, it will be a nice sign of dip buying. Bulls have proving to do. So ACB unable to break high of yesterday is a red flag, but I'm watching the CGC bounce here, because it's looking like that bear break was a nice entry. And we'll see if that can help the sector bulls recover. So either way, if you did enter on that bear break of 48, potential of a break-even stop loss, but looking good so far. So 48 psychological break straight into 5-minute oversold, dip buying, and now we have to break 48.35 for the bulls to breathe a big sigh of relief. Not out of the woods yet. So SPY bulls breaking the high of yesterday, they're in full control. We're looking at the tech sector leading the way. The biotech sector is in the green now, so we need to break the high of yesterday on the biotech sector. Still in the middle of the range for XBI, though. And it is the financial sector that is a bit weaker down at the low of the day. So I'm still holding ACB here. It's holding up well enough for me, and I just want to see, can CGC shift this momentum? And it's looking real good. That was a nice entry opportunity. If we break 48.35, which still hasn't happened yet, but if we do, we're looking up at the next resistance level of 48.54. So there's a new high of the day. It's a complete reversal off that low. The bulls aggressively bought that dip. And now we're looking at the high of yesterday, 48.70 as the most important level from here. So congrats to those dip buyers. And really just an ideal scenario lining up with 5-minute oversold and a psychological support level breaking. And now let's see if ACB can break the high of yesterday, which is a double top with the high of today. All right, back to some tickers. TNDM. So TNDM is a potential bear flag on the daily we have to be cautious of. So far, we're unable to break the high of yesterday of 57.63. That's short-term resistance. And if we lose the hourly uptrend, the odds of a daily bear flag would be high. So key support 54.77 on the hourly and 57.63 is our resistance. Netflix seeing some profit taking, but still holding on. It's all about the low of pre-market, 374.41. If that level breaks, we are likely to consolidate a bit this morning. And if that level holds, the bulls are still just fine overall. So that's the most important level, 374.41. Apple bulls pretty much break even. Daily chart still holding strong, 204.94 is resistance. The bulls made a nice recovery from weakness pre-market on Apple, but we haven't broken the high of yesterday yet. So that's the resistance level to be watching. And support is 203.52. And then the low of pre-market, 202.46. So CGC still not getting a ton of follow-through. So again, you want to place stops if you did make a buy this morning, as we are not seeing a full recovery. Let's see if we get a 2-minute equilibrium setup on CGC. So low of the day, high of the day, and now we're coming back down and we have to form a higher low compared to 47.80 to stay in the 5-minute equilibrium. If we set a new low of the day here, that would definitely be a red flag that would tell us that we're likely going to see a daily inside bar for the rest of the day. So have to hold the low here for the 2-minute equilibrium. And if we break to a new low on CGC, I will exit ACB. And that was quick. So quick bounce with a lack of follow through. So trimming some positions, some more out ACB. CVSI still holding on enough. And I'm trying to play the CVSI weekly chart. So being in the green on CVSI, I'm going to give it some room to work with. So that's the kind of bounce where either bulls take that short-term profit on the 1%, 1.5% bounce, or just set a stop at break even and hope to get follow through with zero risk. But daily inside bar odds just increased a bunch on CGC as we're seeing some hourly consolidation that we did not see yesterday. So back to 5-minute oversold conditions, and we'll be watching for another short-term bounce in the near-term future. But I'm seeing this negative impact on CGC, even on the US MSOs. So aware of that as well. Twitter, I would have to see a loss of uptrend to look bearish. Anything above 36.84 pre-market is a higher low. Definitely extended on the hourly time frame, but I would want to see a loss of the 5-minute uptrend personally. So CGC 5-minute RSI might get overextended because a bunch of that dip buying power was used up on the initial attempt. But we're down in the teens. So making an entry on CGC here. Just looking for a day trade flip, and I will add if we drop down into the 47.20s from here. So it's the same scenario on 5-minute oversold bounces. We're either setting stop losses at break even and hoping that the hourly higher low is forming, or we're locking in short-term gains on these short-term bounces. So ACB, big time pullback. So double top with the high yesterday certainly put my finger on the sell trigger. But everybody pulling back with CGC. ZYNE, nice follow through from yesterday. So Tesla, big time bounce. So now let's see if this is the dip buying heading into earnings. Complete turnaround, first 2 5-minute candlesticks this morning. And we're looking at 264.50 as the high of pre-market resistance. Going to be watching CGC 5-minute exponential resistance as a potential target for taking profit. So again, just like yesterday, it does look like CGC is dictating what the sector is doing. SPY bulls in complete control, just looking at the high of 2019 as our resistance in the 291s. Five-minute RSI hasn't cooled off much on CGC on this bounce attempt. So again, if we do drop and hit a new low, at this point I would shift my perspective to add another position, and it would be down in the low 47s if I were going to add. Riot. So let's see how Riot responded to the gap up open, or I should say the Bitcoin strength, and we are seeing follow through on Riot. So next resistance level on Riot after the gap up open, and we actually already pulled back and filled that gap, but we're looking at a lack of resistance in this area. So really 6 psychological is the next level we're looking at, and short-term support is just going to be the low of the day. So labs, I'm looking at the volume first thing on the hourly. That's what I want to compare to. And it is standing out as higher, absolutely. So the odds increase a bit that we could see all-time highs. But again, from where we stand, we still need another more than 5%. So yes, odds increased from the open due to the volume and due to the lack of correlation with CGC weakness. Got to keep an eye on the CGC bounce and how it shapes up, because if the 5-minute RSI does start cooling off, that's my reason for being in the trade. And if that changes, then I don't have a reason for being in the trade at that point. I'd like to exit at 47.80s. Entry was in the 47.40s. And again, it all depends on your perspective. CGC, we're just going to be looking for a healthy daily high or low at some point when we do see daily consolidation underway. Bulls have tons of space to work with on the daily time frame. SPY continuation for these bulls. Biotech sector getting closer and closer to resistance. SPY 291.43 is resistance. XBI has to break 85.39. And XLV has to break 86.47. And if those two events happen, it's certainly going to be bullish for the market, as those oversold bounces will be underway. TRVG daily inside bar broke bullish with a gap up open. 48.58. 458 is the resistance. Anything under that is just a daily lower high. And our hourly support, we don't have really any clear support nearby aside from the low of the day. So bulls need to hold the low of the day at this point. And we're looking up towards that 458 resistance. Nice strong start. So we got to be careful of a CGC bear flag on the 5-minute time frame. RSI is still low, but this changes my perspective a little bit because it did cool off a bit on this bounce. So I'm probably going to exit CGC on break even. And there it goes. And now look for another potential re-entry. That 1 5-minute green candlestick mixed in there made me want to exit my initial entry. Let's see if the bottom holds. Key support test 47.31. So bear follow through now, not a good sign for individual names, just in the sense that it is a consolidation day shaping up in the MJ sector. And if we drop down to the low 47s, I will be interested in a re-entry. If we break 47 here, 5-minute RSI will be close to the low teens, close to single digits. So I would certainly be comfortable with another re-entry if 47 breaks. And our new key resistance is the top of that bounce, 47.74. So Netflix double topped at key 379 resistance and is pulling back. Just looking for an hourly high or low on Netflix. Here's CGC's 47 test. So I'm going to re-enter after a break-even exit. And with the 5-minute RSI in the mid-teens, at this point, I would enter a second position down in the 46 70s or 60s if we drop down there. So you can see how this entire bounce play this morning and how I'm managing it is shifting based on minute-by-minute information that we're getting. That second 5-minute candlestick on CGC changed whether I would hold my original position and just add a second position or exit break even and start from scratch again. XBI is still unable to break the daily inside bar bullish. Still tightening. And there's going to be decent bear volume on CGC this morning in terms of comparative to yesterday. And once we find this hourly higher low, we'll be watching for the daily inside bar to tighten up. ICPT. Strong start to the day for ICPT. Anything above the low of the day will be a 5-minute higher low. And the daily oversold bounce trying to follow through. So the hourly trend, including pre-market levels, there's well, we can call that an hourly trend change. Our hourly support is 86.50. And we have to be cautious because if we break 86.50 from here, daily bear flag will be very likely. And we still have to be cautious of the potential of the daily bear flag setup. And CGC's 15-minute RSI being oversold keeps me confident. And my game plan on this bounce attempt is I'm going to take half profit and then set my stop under the low of the day, which will be above break even, depending on where I take that half profit, aiming for the 47.20s. SPY bulls still in full control. Financial sector hovering near the low of the day. I'll get to tickers here in just a second, trying to scale out half a CGC. It is a potential 2-minute bear flag on CGC still at this point. So 2-minute bear flag confirmed, and I'm still looking to potentially enter my second position if we drop down into the 46.60s from here. That might be a scenario where we get a new low of the day with no bear follow through. And that will be the case if we can break 47.20. So the sector is consolidating on IAN. We are looking at support down at 672. IAN is a daily inside bar today, just like CGC. Lift is still a potential daily bear flag, but if we're looking for an entry, there's actually no real clear support nearby. 59.85 is a level. So it all depends on the trade game plan. If you're just looking for a 5-minute oversold bounce flip, looks like that 5-minute bounce is already beginning. But other than that, I don't like the clarity because there's not many levels nearby to base trades off of. HAS, huge gap up open. 5-minute uptrend is remaining intact. 99.51 is now support. Resistance 102.87 and 103.03 the high of pre-market. So CGC hit a new low of the day and only followed through by 9 pennies. And now if the bulls can break 47.20, that'll be the first short-term momentum shift, but we have to be watching the 5-minute exponential resistance because 5-minute bear flags are still possible. Here's the 47.20 test. There's a battle. Bears are defending 47.20. And they're doing a pretty good job. It just got eaten up and then replaced real quick. That's the line in the sand for the Bears. Need a convincing break over 47.20 because every time it gets bought, someone's putting an order back there. Not allowing for any follow-through. That is very clear. Keep refilling it. We keep breaking it by a few pennies, and it keeps just dropping right back to 47.20. Need to turn that level into support. So I am out half of my CGC position here in the upper 47.20s, 47.29. So now my break-even point is under the low of the day. So I can set a break-even stop under the low of the day for the second half of the position and then hope that the hourly higher low has been set and that we get this bounce follow through. And the bulls want to make their way into the 47.60s to create space for a 5-minute higher low. SPY bulls at the high of the day. They're extremely strong. Tech sector leading the way. Amazon bulls with a lot of follow through. Keep in mind, Amazon's very overextended as well. 5-minute potential bull flag holding exponential support. But the hourly time frame during regular trading hours has not consolidated on Amazon in about $60 of price action. So the question is, where is CGC going to form its hourly support level and potential low of the day for the daily inside bar? And bulls are hoping that that was it. But we certainly need a 5-minute trend change at a bare minimum to make bulls confident. So that's about as good an example of active day trading management where I establish a game plan, but I use the short-term minute-by-minute details to shift that game plan slightly to put myself in a situation where worst case, it's break even, and best case, it's our daily higher low and a solid profit trade.